My name is Pang and I'm from Malaysia. I'm with Sexuality Merdeka. Over the last few years, some of the interesting development that has affected LGBT people would be the ongoing Islamization of Malaysia, particularly an attempt to expand on the Sharia laws. But also, what is very interesting is that the body for Islamic advancement in Malaysia has received an extraordinary amount of federal budget, out of which we believe that a huge percentage goes towards their research for rehabilitating LGBTs. So the discourse that they have adopted with this new strategy also includes suggestion that they are not going to punish, that they're trying to have a softer approach, but they do not suggest repeal of these laws. The trans people of Malaysia are constantly harassed and targeted by the religious authorities who have been known to arrest them. And when they're arrested, their hair gets shaven off, and you can imagine how traumatic that is for trans women. They get put into lockups with other men, and so they face sexual abuse in the lockups. That is if they don't already face sexual abuse from the people who are arresting them. This has led to the trans women being very vocal, to advocate for their own rights. And part of the effort, I think, from the trans community is actually first to empower their own community to know their rights. And it's tough because when you are so economically deprived, when you're just struggling to survive, it's hard to talk about rights sometimes. Yeah. I organize an arts and activism bazaar, and it's very fun because we also have a stage where we have forums and talks, and I always program very political discussions. I believe that one of the limits in our activism in Malaysia is due to the lack of space to advocate for ourselves, the lack of spaces to tell our stories and be heard. And to me, the way to counter that, before we can even think of legal change, before we can even think of cultural shifts, is to be heard, to have spaces, and even to hear each other. And I think having these kind of spaces is very important. Of course, one of my event 2 years ago, I was arrested because one of our artists happened to be selling the portrait of the Prime Minister as a clown. I mean, much to my disappointment, I was not arrested for being gay. I was arrested under another colonial law, sedition law. So one way or the other, we are still stuck with the laws that we inherited from the British government, and still affecting our daily work. And what this incident showed to me is that our expression is powerful and causes concern for the people who are trying to shut us up. I believe that in spite of legal reforms, the cultural change, the cultural shift that needs to take place will be even longer. Will take more effort. It takes a lot of work on the ground, speaking to people, creating art, creating stories, creating channels, for minds to change, for hearts to change. So I'm not hopeful about legal change in Malaysia, or maybe because I'm not hopeful, I look at the other avenues. And what I think TCEN offers for me is an ability to show solidarity with the other countries who feel ready, who feel that they could change, and through the changes that through supporting and helping to make that dream possible for another country who's close to the cusp of change, allows me to borrow that hope.